Dear gentle readers, today I will take you into one of the darkest pages of history, into the deep silence of Albert Fish's mind. If you are ready, we shall begin. Some humans are not born with a soul. They are born with a void, a hollow space where empathy should have been. We call them monsters, but they call themselves messengers. Today, we descend into the darkest labyrinth of American criminology, into the fractured mind of Albert Hamilton Fish. To his neighbors, he was a quiet, kind, and helpful old man, but beneath this flawless social mask lay a darkness that modern psychiatry still struggles to define. He was a tapestry of sadomasochistic narcissism, necrophilic urges, and a twisted messiah complex. Fish was not merely a killer. He was a creature who sanctified pain, transforming violence into a divine ritual, a man existing on the most extreme edges of the psychotic spectrum. The story began in 1870, in the foggy shadows of Washington, D.C., but his fate was written long before his first breath, carved into the genetic map of a cursed family. Mental illness was a silent poison, running through his bloodline for generations. When his father died, Albert was only 5. His mother, crushed by her own mental collapse, abandoned him to the cold, merciless stone walls of St. John's Orphanage. It was not a home. It was a hierarchy of violence. There, young Albert did not just learn of pain. He learned that pain was a ritual. He learned that a scream was a melody. Watching other children being whipped, his mind suffered a permanent fracture. In criminology, we call this paraphilia, born from early childhood trauma. In his own words, "I saw so many boys whipped until they were bleeding. It ruined my mind forever." As Albert emerged from the orphanage, he was a shadow, silent, withdrawn, and seemingly harmless. No one saw the beast growing within his psyche. In 1898, he married. He became a father to 6 children. By day, he was a simple house painter, reading bedtime stories to his own kids. His neighbors knew him as the quiet father. But when night fell, this social camouflage dissolved, revealing his true identity. Fish was an organized and predatory hunter. He moved like a ghost through the streets, looking for the vulnerable. He targeted those the world chose to ignore, the poor, the neglected, and in the racial divide of that era, African American children. He knew that for these children, the wheels of justice turned slowly, if they turned at all. He was not a monster hiding in the dark. He was the kind old man standing right in the light when no one thought to look. But the horror was not only directed outward. Fish viewed pain as a form of divine purification. When he was finally caught, the X-rays of his body sent shockwaves through the medical world. He had driven more than 70 rusted needles into his own flesh, into his pelvis, and his abdomen. He whipped himself with boards filled with nails, experiencing pain as a form of catharsis. This was not simple masochism. Fish lived within a heavy religious delusion, imagining himself as a holy saint, offering sacrifices to God. To him, to sacrifice a child and to consume their flesh was to save them from a sinful world. He believed that by eating his victims, he was imprisoning their innocence within his own body. In 1928, the meeting with 10-year-old Grace Budd became the final act of this bloody history. To enter a family's most private sanctuary by introducing himself as Frank Howard was his most sinister talent. As he took Grace by the hand, promising a birthday party, her family watched her walk away with gratitude. Grace Budd was never seen alive again. Years later, the letter he sent to the Budd family was not just a confession. It was a monster's trophy. In that letter, he described every detail with a cold, emotionless detachment, as if he were giving a recipe. There was no remorse. There was no fear. Only the satisfaction of a psychopath who wanted to keep control of the final scene. The hunt for the man behind the letter led Detective William King to Fish's door in 1934. When he was caught, he didn't run. He didn't panic. He spoke of the murders of Billy Gaffney, Francis McDonnell, and Grace Budd, as if he were telling someone else's story. This eerie calm left a permanent scar on the hearts of the officers who listened. The trial of 1935 became one of the greatest ethical debates in American legal history. The defense pointed to his needle-filled body and his religious delusions, arguing that he had no legal responsibility, that he was a victim of severe mental illness. Psychiatrists were divided, debating how a monster could be so broken and yet so calculated. Ultimately, the prosecution argued that Fish's sophisticated methods of hiding, his fake names, and his logical planning proved he was a man fully aware of his actions. The jury agreed. He was not just a patient, he was a dangerous antisocial personality. The verdict was absolute: death. On January 16, 1936, at Sing Sing prison, he walked toward the electric chair with a terrifying silence. It was said he even helped the executioner. His final words were the perfect summary of the darkness within his mind. "I shall enjoy it. It will be the only thrill I have never experienced." After the execution, his body was buried in the Sing Sing prison cemetery, also known as Ward 25. He was placed in an unmarked grave, given only a number. Society wanted to bury him in the earth and forget his name forever. But Albert Fish did not die as a simple murderer. He left behind a legacy of fear, one that fundamentally changed the perception of child safety in America. He shattered the trust in strangers and etched a warning into the collective subconscious of the world. He was the ultimate proof that evil does not always wear the mask of a monster. Sometimes it walks among us with the face of a kind, soft-spoken old man.